Now, I'm looking at this UK card that we have in a couple of weeks, right? And I gotta say, you know, I don't know why, but someone needs to explain me why this is objectively the worst UK card that we have had over the last couple of years. And don't get me wrong, there are good things about this card, like Movsar Evloev and Leroy Murphy. It's a definitive number one contenders fight for the next featherweight title shot against Alexander Volkanovski. And while you can argue that both Movsar and Leroy Murphy should have got a title shot before Diego Lopez, I understand why the UFC didn't want to put them in. All right, Leroy Murphy, he hasn't had a top 5 win. Meanwhile, Movsar Evloev, you know, he hasn't fought in over a year, and he's not exactly the most fun fighter on the roster. But still, though, all right, now that we get to settle this for a definitive number one contenders fight, so I'm actually very hyped up for that fight, even though I don't think it's going to be the most action-packed. All right, but when I look at the rest of this card, I don't know where to start. Right? Like, first off, we have Luke Riley and Michael Aswell as the co-main event of UFC Fight Night London. And sure, you could say that, oh, Luke Riley's a prospect that the UFC want to take care of, right? He trains with Paddy Pimblett. He got a highlight reel KO over Bogdan Grad. At the end of the day, he's 1-0 in the UFC. And it's not like Luke Riley's really fighting someone that's like, very high-level fighter in the featherweight division. Like, Michael Aswell, I'm struggling to even comprehend whether or not he belongs in the UFC, right? And the fact that they put basically a 50-50 overall fighter in the co-main event slot of this card, it's just simply disgraceful. Like, I'm looking through this card, I can count at least 4 fights that deserve the co-main event slot over Luke Riley and Michael Aswell, all right? Do I think this is going to be the final bout order? No. All right, if they put this on the main card as the main card opener, I'm not going to be mad about it, but the co-main event is too much, and I can also see the UFC just leaving it as is because the matchmakers, they're very lazy to say the least. But moving on from the co-main event, though, I can dedicate an entire separate video about Michael Venom Page and Sam Patterson because I think everybody can agree with me when I say this. This fight makes 0 sense, all right? First off, Michael Venom Page, he has a win over Jared Cannonier, who's a top 10 middleweight. He beat Sharon Magomedov right before that, who was an undefeated prospect at middleweight. Why is Michael Venom Page going back down to welterweight to fight a relatively unknown prospect in Sam Patterson? Right? And don't get me wrong, I do like Sam Patterson. He's on a nice win streak. None of them are ranked caliber. And hell, none of them are even at the level of Michael Venom Page. All right? If you wanted to give Sam Patterson a test in the welterweight division, I feel like we could have done something other than dragging MVP back down to welterweight when we all thought that Michael Venom Page was going to stay at middleweight for as long as his UFC career lasted. But for some reason, the UFC and Michael Venom Page's manager just allowed this fight to happen for some reason. I don't know why this is happening. And the worst part about this is, I can't even guarantee you that Sam Patterson will win this fight. Right? I understand that Michael Venom Page, he has his weaknesses, especially in the grappling game. But on the feet, he is really hard to figure out. Like, I'm talking incredibly difficult because he is so good at picking his shots, and I could see Michael Venom Page just completely shutting down Sam Patterson over the course of 3 rounds if Sam Patterson chooses not to grapple in this fight. And the fact that the UFC is risking a pretty good prospect in Sam Patterson for Michael Venom Page at this point, it just makes no sense, all right? And plus the fact that Michael Venom Page should have been looking for someone within the top 10 of the middleweight division, considering he's coming off 2 wins in a row, like one of them being to Jared Cannonier. I don't understand why Michael Venom Page didn't stay at middleweight. If he was going to fight at welterweight, I still feel like he could have fought a ranked opponent, considering he beat Kevin Holland, who was ranked at the time. And the fact that MVP is now fighting a relatively unknown welterweight prospect and just basically risking a potential submission loss, I just don't like this for either guy. All right, if it feels like a lose-lose situation no matter what. All right, because if Sam Patterson submits Michael Venom Page, oh good, you lost Michael Venom Page. He's probably gonna be out for a while. He might not even fight because he might just take some random fights here and there. And if Michael Venom Page wins, then good job, UFC. You guys ruined another prospect for no apparent reason, which we did not need to see. Now, I want to make this clear. There are good fights on this card. Like, off the bat, I can tell you that Ivar Barnowski is going to sleep out Austin Lane, and I'm going to be excited for that. Roman Dolidze and Christian Leroy Duncan, I can expect Christian Leroy Duncan to sleep Roman Dolidze out cold and then maybe get into the rankings of the middleweight division. Mason Jones always puts on a fun scrap no matter who he's up against, so I can expect Mason Jones to show out. But I'm looking at this card and I'm thinking, where are half of the UK prospects and contenders that most UK fans love to see? All right, I understand that some of them, like Arnold Allen, Paddy Pimblett, just fought, but could we not have added Lunar Kavanaugh into this list? Oh wait, no, he's fighting on the previous Apex card, which I'm gonna be real, nobody gives a fuck about. Like, we could have even added George Hardwick in there, but for some reason, the UFC needs to add the fan-favorite UK prospects on the Apex card a week before their London-themed card. I feel like they should have put on some of the more fan-favorite prospects and contenders of the UK fan base, but for some reason, they did not do that. All right, they really did not do that. They put in Louis Sutherland, Mick Parkin, and Chanel Dyer instead of putting Lunar Kavanaugh in this London card. The bout order especially is also infuriating when you look at Nathaniel Wood and Lucien Kita on the prelims. Meanwhile, Luke Riley and Michael Aswell is on the co-main event. I just don't understand what the UFC is thinking when they're making these bout orders, all right? Some of these matchups I'm very excited for, but they're all on the prelims over main card fights that, like, you know, objectively shouldn't be on the main card. So I feel like if the UFC wants to go to UK and actually maintain their fan base, you know, first off, they should actually put this UK card on UK time zone, because I remember the last pay-per-view back in 2024, they put this on 4 a.m. UK time, and that's kind of atrocious if you really think about it. They also need to make sure to kind of just restructure the card and make it make more sense. Like, don't get me wrong, Luke Riley and Michael Aswell, it's gonna be a good fight because I'm expecting Luke Riley to sleep Michael Aswell out cold. I do not need to see this on the co-main event slot though. All right, put on more of a scrap. All right, maybe put Michael Venom Page and Sam Patterson above him. All right, maybe put Nathaniel Wood and Lucien Kita. Both of these guys are objectively higher level featherweights than Luke Riley and Michael Aswell. So Nathaniel Wood and Lucien Kita, I feel like should be in the main card, and maybe even Roman Dolidze and Christian Leroy Duncan, because CLD is looking for a ranked opponent in Roman Dolidze. I feel like the UFC can do so much better, but first off, they're lazy. The matchmakers barely do enough work. And second off, the bout order, it's just a complete mess. So it makes the card look much worse than it apparently is. So UFC, please fix the bout order. Put this on UK time. Actually try to get some UK fighters in that like are fan favorites, like Lunar Kavanaugh, and then maybe then we can say that this is a great card. But right now, as I'm looking at this fight night for March 21st, it is not that great. There are a couple of fun fights here and there, but I do not think that this is a great card, to say the least, because of the reasons that I have listed. Alright, that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can monetize this channel. But otherwise, leave any comments down below for video suggestions you have for me in the comments. And outside of that, I will see you guys next time. Peace.